Right at the top of the hour. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar that's talking about assistive technology, transition, employment, a little of everything here. Uh, Kind of exciting to have this conversation regarding assistive tech and looking at it from that employment perspective, talking about it from that way. So we're excited that you're here today with us as we go forward through our time together. That's us. There's me. There's Jesse. We are here to lead the conversation, and we invite you to be part of it. Feel free, be part of the chat. If that works for you and you would like to add something, we're happy to have you add something. If you would like the slides are, give me a second. I thought I had it. I thought I had that bit.ly saved here. I'll type it in the chat. There is the QR code for the slides, or you can use this link, and here it comes. There's the link in the chat. Both of them will take you to the slides, so you have all the information, and you will be able to follow along. I would say, as most times when we do these kinds of webinars, I would say get the slides because there are things linked in the slides. So pictures go off to websites, other resources. There's a lot of extra stuff. And Jesse always likes when I say things like, and I don't know if we'll get to the end, so you might be able to see the end of the slides that we might not get to. We'll see what we get to. I gave Jesse my standard just before you all came in. We'll start when we start. We'll get to what we get to, and we'll go from there. So again, we're happy you're here. Happy on this little AT journey with us today to talk about assistive tech as it relates to transition and employment. We'll start with the general definition. This is nothing more than just to put us all on the same kind of page when we're thinking about this idea of AT, both the devices and the services. I think the devices part is pretty straightforward. The devices is the stuff. It's the stuff people want to talk about. It's the stuff people want to get. It's all of the tools that we will talk about as we go through the majority of the webinar today. We'll look at tools to kind of serve some purpose for an individual. Again, keeping in mind the definition on the left of AT devices can boil itself all the way down to an AT device is anything that you use to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of an individual with a disability. That's what makes that assistive tech. That's what changes something just from tech to assistive tech. It's what it does for that person and how it provides that level of support for them as they go forward. The right-hand side of our screen, where we talk about the AT service, I tell you, I'm going to fight the urge. I could sit and talk about that for the rest of the hour. I could talk about that. I love talking about the service part of things. I love that side of it. Those services that we wrap around that in essence encapsulate this whole process, which is helping with the selection, acquisition, and use of the device. That is our reminder that just getting the device is not the answer, is not the end, is not the culmination of our process here, but instead it is how that device is brought into the environments that the person will be in and provides that level of support that they need in order to be successful. And so that part becomes really critical. And that's the part I feel like we're constantly needing to push with people and remind them of how important that is. Because there are times that still happen where people simply say, just tell us the names of things. Tell us apps that you know. And not worrying about training or any other support that goes with that. And that is a missed opportunity. It is, I'm not a glass half empty guy, but if I was, I'd say something like that is destined to fail, and is certainly not destined to fail. That felt a little dramatic, but it is certainly not getting off on the right foot to ensure that that person's successful. There you go. There, I went back to my glass half full approach to things. The other thing that we'll remember, and it fits into this conversation about service, is the cycle of how we approach this AT experience. Looking at consideration, understanding what that person needs, and then matching that to the tools that are out there. actually providing the technology to someone. The implementation of that tool is the training and how that tool is infused into their environment to provide success. And then performance monitoring. How's it going? Follow up, follow along, making sure that the person continues to have their needs met and no additional needs come up as they move through this process with employment or any of the transitions that we're going to talk about. So thinking about this cycle is even more proof that just getting the stuff is only half the battle because it is only step two out of the four steps. So I think that's really important as we think about that. Our biggest, a lot of dramatic statements right now. Sorry, our biggest piece that we have to worry about is how to make sure we're identifying that person's needs. What is it that they are looking for in order to be successful? What is the goal of this interaction of ours? What are the educational goals, vocational, independent living goals? How are we making sure those goals are at the forefront, not the technology? The technology is not the goal. The technology is a means to get us to the goal. And then how do we ensure that we continue to have thoughtful conversations with all members of the teams about realistic goals? I've been in many of a job accommodation situation where there are unrealistic goals of what either the individual is expecting to have happen or members of their team or an employer has an unrealistic goal. And so getting everybody on the same page with that and having that very open, honest conversation about what is it we're striving for here makes this a much better opportunity for success as we go forward. And we've talked consideration already. I am not going to spend a lot of time, even though I told you I could spend a lot of time talking about this. I'm going to fight it. How do we consider what that person needs? Well, we have the set framework. So if we're looking at students in an education environment or education moving through transition into employment or out into the community, we still have the set framework, the student, the environment, the tasks, the tools, breaking down that consideration, understanding what the person needs in order to be successful. If you're working with adults, sometimes the adults don't want to be called a student, and I get that. That's cool. We have another model we can use for adult services, which is the HAT model. Very similar. I mean, I think we can find the alignment here for sure. The HAT model is the Human Activity Assistive Technology model. And then wrapped around that entire pie that's in the center there is the context of how that person is going to be using technology. And so I think with these two tools, these two consideration tools, we see the crossover: student to human, environment to context, task to activity, tools to assistive technology. Those two consideration tools can serve us well. And it's important to remember we have these two powerful tools at our disposal to use to make sure we are addressing that person's needs. And remember that part where I talked about realistic goals. Effective consideration helps us align our team members to a realistic goal that someone can be striving to complete with assistive tech. If you're in a school setting and you are working with students in this area of transition, I hope that you know about QUIET, the Quality Indicators for Assistive Technology Services. On the screen, you'll see QUIET has a set of best practices indicators for all the different areas of the process, from consideration to assessment to adding AT to the IEP, implementation and evaluation of effectiveness. There are also a full set of indicators for transition. So if you're looking for a little reflective moment on how are we as an organization effectively meeting the needs of our students in transition with assistive tech, this could be a great guiding document for you, where you can then look at your services as a whole. I think of that these documents, these processes that I'm showing you, the set and the hat, are more student centered. They are about the individual and about their needs. And quiet is more about you as an organization or you as a service delivery system. How are you best meeting those needs? You'll see there's two others as well. I don't want to discount those at the bottom there: administrative support for AT and AT for professional development. If you've never gone to the Quiet website, you should go there. Don't go now. Go at like 1 o'clock when we're done, or whatever 40 minutes from now is for you, all of you, 45 minutes. They have all of the indicators are on the Quiet website, which is qiat.org. They have all of the indicator areas are there. I will put that in the chat. I know sometimes in a webinar, people just like to click them and open a bunch of tabs so that you have them when you're done. Each of those areas has a full breakdown of all of the different indicator spots. What I have on the slide for you that gives you an example of what is the transition indicators. And you see there are a list of 6 indicators which talk about this idea of how are you as a group providing this service. And then you can rate your service, do a little self-assessment, have some conversation, look at this spot of what are we strong in? What do we need to do more work in? What is our next step? What is our action step? What is our to do out of this? And I think these are really good opportunities for us to constantly be reviewing ourselves as service providers, to make sure that we are as equipped as possible. And being equipped does not mean having a bunch of technology tools. That's not what I mean. But we as professionals are equipped with the skills we need to address the needs of the people that come to us. And that's what the quiet indicators do for us. So if you've never seen those, check them out. Do a little self-assessment. I would put the challenge to you: ask others in your organization to do a self-assessment. See if there's an eye-opening moment of, well, I think we do this really great, and then hear from someone else who maybe doesn't have the same experience. And those are good opportunities to understand what is missing in different parts and how can we be better as a group to do that. And I'm going to let Jessie share about Aspire. Jessie didn't know we were doing this until she popped on. And so Jessie gets to talk too. Jessie is our Aspire, I'm going to call her our contact point. I don't want to build it up by expert. She knows I don't like saying the word expert. Jessie is our Aspire person. So Jessie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So speaking of assessments and transition, Aspire is a planning tool that students take on their own to help them better be able to speak up at their IEP meetings and other meetings that are related to transition and the transition process. Aspire is a free online questionnaire that generates a report, which lets students get ready for preparing to graduate high school and life beyond high school as well. And so each report is individualized and person-centered, and we have there at the bottom the link to get to the planning tool. Fun fact about Aspire is that it can be taken in English or Spanish. If you look at the top right-hand corner, when you go to the website, you are going to be given the option of ES or EN. So whatever language you prefer to take it in, by all means, choose which one you like. And then going into a little bit more detail, and linking it in with assistive technology, there are a lot of fill in the blank opportunities in the planning tool. And this is where I like to put as much AT joy and fun as possible in all these fill in the blank areas, because they let the students not only decide if they have additional needs and supports. But let's say a student says, I know I need help solving X problem, but I don't really know how to get there. They can still put in their request in the fill in the blank area without knowing the specific type of assistive technology tool or device. Um, and by doing that, they're still asking for an assistive technology related service, even though they don't know the stuff to complete the service with. So that is a really effective way to use Aspire and link assistive technology. And as we know, assistive technology can help us in all areas of life. The three main areas of Aspire include education, employment, and independent living. And again, each section has the opportunity for you to click and check a variety of different options and then fill in the blanks as needed to make it more personalized to you. I always tell everyone that the more you add to your planning tool, the more detailed it becomes, the more effective the results become. So keep that in mind as you take it. And then finally, um, the report comes with a list of community agencies and orgs at the bottom. They may not be applicable to everyone, but they are applicable to a wide variety of people with disabilities. So that is a very helpful section as well. And that's Aspire in a nutshell.
I love it. It's a perfect nutshell. Excellent. Thank you. Think about this idea of, we were talking about consideration tools, looking at the set framework and the HAT model. Aspire can be another piece of that consideration moment. Students doing a reflective self assessment of where they're at and where they want to go, and bringing that information into the consideration process as we talk as a team to help figure out what are those supports that are going to be needed in order for them to get to these goals that they mentioned. And, I think this is just another way we can bring the student into this process and empower them to lead this process, which I think is critical as we go forward. So awesome. Thanks, Jesse. All right, let's talk about, here's why I say, remember that talk about service? Let's talk about stuff. Let's talk about things now. But here's how we're going to frame it for the day. As we go forward, we're going to look at this through the framework of universal design. Not universal design for learning, if you're familiar with that, talks about the three big principles, multiple means of engagement, representation, action, and expression. No, what we're going to talk about is the universal design framework developed by Ron Mace at North Carolina State University, where he looked at the universal design of products and environments to be used by the largest group of people possible. And when I think about this, the reason we're looking at it this way, I'll give you all of the principles. We'll go through them and we'll give some examples. When I think about the principles, how they line up, I find these as I'm out in the community talking with employers or talking with people at job sites. This is a very plain language way to discuss assistive technology and the power of it in a workplace. And so that's the reason why we're using this, because I really like this idea of giving the individuals out in the community this kind of bigger picture of what is it we're trying to accomplish here. When we look at some possible technology tools. Oh, maybe we're looking at a way to ensure equitable use. So everybody gets a chance to use this. And I think with this plain language, it gives us a nice starting point. We're still at a point where not everyone feels comfortable with the understanding of what assistive technology is. I think we continue to fight this battle every day that assistive technology is things that you're familiar with, just using them to ensure someone with a disability can be successful. They're not expensive, they're not complex. They could be, but they don't have to be. And so I think if we approach this from a plain language approach, it makes those conversations a little easier. I found these conversations to be smoother They start off smoother, people understand what it is we're talking about, and then layer in some supports to support each area of these principles as you go forward. So we'll approach these principles. However, we're going to keep in the back of our head this, which is probably one of my favorite pictures ever, to remind us that we have to find a balance here between the design of solutions and the user experience. And so the picture on the slide is of a very nice park with very nice right angled walkways that are paved, really nice. And there is a triangle of grass that has been worn down because people are cutting the corner uh, to get to where they need to go. So finding our balance between that really great design and good design that people still want to use. So as we think about that, we'll show some examples of that. These are certainly not meant to be exhaustive in the ideas of tools. And if we're going through one of these principles and something hits you like, oh, I've used a tool that does one of these things, throw it in the chat. We'd love to hear that. I think these are great examples of how to make those connections for people about what is it we're trying to accomplish with the tech. And so we'll start. So here we have number one, equitable use. What does that look like and how did they describe it? The design is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. And then there's some kind of sub principles there. Provides the same means of use for all users, avoids segregating or stigmatizing any users, making sure that we have privacy, security, and safety that are equally available to them. And then ultimately, is the design appealing to everyone? Because no one wants to use something that is ugly. It's easy as that. When I think about equitable use, I kind of almost start and end here. This is my soapbox moment with you of saying, are you using your built-in accessibility features to their maximum ability? Are you taking the tools that you already have? There's no better way for us to demonstrate that assistive technology is not something that's scary. There's no better way that we can demonstrate that than just showing somebody something on their own phone or their own laptop or in the browser they're using, whatever it might be, finding a way to make sure they are maximizing their potential for success with the tools they already have. So what I would say to you is I'm sure we've all used something in the accessibility features. If you want to throw it in the chat, we can talk about them and we'll hear what people have discussed and tried. When you get the slides, every one of these pictures has a link to the website that is the built-in accessibility for that operating system. So along the top from left to right, you have Apple, you have the iOS, you have Android. On the bottom from left to right, you have Windows, Chrome, and even our friends at Amazon have some built-in accessibility in their tools. So there you go. Laura, I see your comment about the slides not being downloadable. You can open them in a browser window and save that link. Laura, is how we approach that. So hopefully that works for you. If not, we can send everybody a copy of a PDF of the slides when we're done. Just as a little aside. I don't share my slides as downloadable anymore because I've had people take them and use them as their own presentations. And that's not cool. So this is how we share them now. But let me know, Laura, if you guys want that, and I'll happily get that PDF to everybody. So thinking about built-in features, making the text larger, using the text-to-speech so that the device reads aloud to you. I like to point out to people, we're in a world now with assistive tech that every single device that you have around you either talks out loud to you or lets you talk to it to do something. 10, 15 years ago, these are thousands of dollars products that we had to put into devices to get this support. And now every single thing does that. That's incredibly powerful. This idea of finding a way to maximize what we have through that, whether it's in our mobile devices, our phones, our tablets, our laptops, Is it the browsers that we're working in? This is a screenshot of the Chrome browser, which is what we're in now, where my slides are playing. But the Chrome browser has a built-in reading mode that you can simply turn on, and it will declutter the page and just give you text and then read it out loud to you, along with adjusting some of the visual display. That will work on any accessible website. Now, there's my little asterisk thing that the website has to be accessible, and the material that you're viewing on a web page has to be accessible. If it is, then the reading mode will work. So Chrome has that. Microsoft Edge has a reading mode built into it. These are things that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to turn it, you don't even have to turn it on. They're just there. So access them. If you're looking for reading mode in your Chrome browser, go up to your three dots at the top where it says where you're and go all the way down to more tools. Hold on, more tools, and then reading mode will show up. So as you see on my right hand side of the screen, I'm showing you how you get to reading mode. Once you activate reading mode, your browser will also ask you if you want to put it in your browser window so you don't have to go there anymore. So then you could get reading mode. If you follow my cursor to the top right corner, I am circling it around the icon that lives on my toolbar now, which is the reading mode icon, where I can go to any web page and turn that feature on. Simple things. These are our starting points. This would often be something we'd say to people, try this, see if that level of support is enough for you. If that works for you, I've had many people where we haven't had to go to any other tools beyond the built-in features. That's amazing. Problem solved. They got the support they needed. They're being successful with the tasks they have to do. The only time we move from built-in accessibility is when someone says, yeah, that's pretty good, but I wish it did, and they describe something. That means that we need to look for something with more features for them. But until they say that, that might be your solution. Thinking about as we move to number 2, which is flexibility of use, looking at the design of the support accommodates a wide range of preferences and abilities. So you're individualizing the way someone can use the tool. Choice and methods of use. How do we work to make sure that we have maximized the tool to maximize the individual's accuracy and precision? And how do we do something that provides some adaptability to how the user wants to navigate through something? Thinking about calendars. I use calendars as a good example of like flexible support. A calendar could look as colorfully uncomfortable as that one on the left, which is my calendar. And that to you might look like way too much. For me, it is perfectly visually a lot, but it's perfect. It works every day for me. It got me here on time. It'll get me to the next thing today on time. That's a solution. That's a system that works for me. I don't expect it to work for everyone, but finding a way to facilitate that so someone can be successful. Maybe it's not the calendar that comes with their device at all, because maybe they're a non-reader and having a calendar with a bunch of color-coded text tags is too much for them. It's just not functional. So then we look at something like a visual schedule planner, which is a different app that allows us to create a calendar that has icons built into it, that has some audio support built into it, that has some functionality to give me additional pieces of support as I go forward. In the visual schedule planner, if there is a task that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with completing because I don't remember the steps, I can attach a checklist to anything I put in that calendar, and I can walk through all the steps to get done with that. And those steps could have audio attached to them, could have pictures attached to them. So again, it's that multimedia, that multimodal support of somebody as they go forward is what changes a simple, I should really air quote simple, a simple tool like a calendar, and maybe a better word might be a prevalent tool like a calendar, and allows me to customize that to maximize its use for each person. Thinking about note taking and things like that, we're seeing a lot more of note takers now, including tools that are electronic note takers. This is the Kindle Scribe. If you're not familiar with this tool, it's a 10-inch Kindle device. It's an e-ink device, so it's that gray kind of screen. It's a backlit gray screen. Uh, but what that has become very powerful for is note taking with an AI component built into it. So now we have the ability to handwrite notes, which can be converted to text, and then AI can summarize them. You can also use the AI tool to search all of your notes for words or phrases. So now we're finding ways to take note taking to another level for someone with some built-in AI level supports. We start thinking about what is AI for. AI is much more than just Chat GPT or Gemini. We have a lot of other options for us that we can put AI to work for us for someone so that it can give them levels of support that they might need. There's a
We
video there in the slide. I'm
tap
not
the
going to play
share.
the video now. But if you want to go back to the slides later and watch, that's a little video of the gentleman taking his notes and using the AI tool within the Kindle Scribe. So pretty cool. Other note-taking options, right? Note-taking is the task, but here's a bunch of different options. Something like the Rocketbook, which is a reusable notebook. So I handwrite notes, and then I can send those notes through a QR code to somewhere else to catalog them and store them. So I don't have to have multiple notebooks. What's a notebooking dilemma is, and I have one right here. I have this paper notebook I've been writing notes on my desk. But if I leave to go to the office, chances are high this notebook is going to stay at my desk and I'm going to forget it at my house. So how do you make sure that that person has access to the things they need? Um, whether it's to transfer those notes to a safe place, whether it is audio support for note taking. So the device at the top is a web-based tool called MicNote, which allows you to audio record and type notes at the same time. So those two are synced together. So whenever I go back to my notes, I can click them and play the moment in time that I heard someone talking in order to write that note. So it's not about reading your notes aloud, but instead it's using your notes as bookmarks to an audio recording. And then there are even things where, again, we're seeing AI. The tool at the bottom is called the Plod Note, and it's a little tiny note taker. I have it here on my desk. I was trying to get it out of its case, and it's almost impossible. And it's really going to be hard to see, but here it is. It's this thin, and it is a little AI note taker tool. And what I can do with this is when I'm in a meeting, I hit record. This tool captures my notes. Then I can transfer them to an app on my phone, which will then sort them, transcribe them, and allow them to become searchable for me, all with AI support. You see at the bottom there that the one thing about some of these AI-based tools is they're freemium tools. Like I get 300 minutes free a month with that device, and then I have to pay for the transcription feature after that. So just kind of a little heads up on those kind of things. They are officially cool. I like them. They're fun. I think it's a great idea. It's a great use of tech, but know that there could be an added cost there if someone finds that they're using that a lot. As we continue on and we think about the next principle, which is simple and intuitive to use, how do we make sure the design is easy to understand regardless of the user's experience, knowledge, language skills, and current concentration skills? And this is about eliminating complexity, accommodating literacy and language skills, and then the arrangement of information in a space that's consistent with how important that information is. A great example of a tool that might support us here is one of those standalone scanning pens, like a scan marker or the C pen, any of those tools, which allow us to scan text to have it read aloud. The Scan Marker Pro in that picture there also has translation built into it. So I can take a piece of paper I've received, maybe it's a job application, maybe it is some other work, some other material at a job site. I can take that little pen and scan it, and it will read it out loud to me or translate it and read it to me in the language that I need. And it's all from a small little pen that I can carry around with me. Thinking about how we approach something. Maybe the person uses their phone for this, but maybe there's moments where they can't use their phone. I've been in some situations where the phone's not allowed. Uh, we have at one of the airports here in New Jersey, we have the FAA Technical Center. Um, And when you work in that building, you can't bring your phone in. And so one of the people I was supporting there needed some reading support, and we used a Scan Marker Pro because it did not need Wi-Fi connection. It stayed all on the pen, and the pen stayed at his desk, and he used that as his reading support. He had some things on his computer also, but he had been originally using his phone to scan pictures of text and read it aloud to him, and that was not allowed. We talked about an iPad, we talked about some different things, and we found that the scan marker was giving him the level of support he needed quickly as he moved through his job tasks. So for him, that was a right solution for that right time, as kind of a supplement to his computer and the things that he does on his computer. Thinking about eliminating complexity, and here's another example of an AI tool we can look at. Maybe you've seen it before. If you've not, this is really a pretty great one. This is something called Goblin Tools. And Goblin Tools has a whole suite of features that it uses, but the one we're going to talk about right now is the Magic To Do. And basically, what this tool does is it uses AI to take a task that you need to complete and break it down into the steps that need to be completed in order to finish that task. What's really nice about that is it gives you a nice breakdown list. And then at any point, if one of the steps is not broken down enough for you, you can take any of those sub steps and break them down into a series of steps. So, what we can do is the individual can work through this and say, all right, I've been given this task that I have to do at my job. I don't even know what's involved in doing that. Try the Magic To Do. Put the task in there, see what it gives you as options, and make sure you're understanding those steps. Then we can move to a timing slash scheduling plan of, okay, now I have the steps. When should I do them? How long should they take? When will I know I'm finished? All of the other pieces that go into kind of the executive function support part of each step. But at least I have the list of steps there that I can move from. And maybe I bring that to my supervisor and I talk to them and say, okay, here's the steps that I'm going to do. Am I missing anything? Is there something you'd want me to spend more time focused on than others? So where are we at with this? And this gives that person, again, some independence. Let the AI support that person with some independence. They also have a really nice one on Goblin Tools, which is their estimator, which estimates how long it should take you to do a task, which is always great for the person that says, this will take 10 minutes, and then 4 hours later, they're still working on it. It gives them a better sense of what the timing would look like for something. Goblin.tools is the website. A really great one. And as of right now, this I like to say stuff like this. As of right now, it is free. Will it stay that way? I don't know. But right now, it's free. So definitely go check it out. Goblin Tools. Think about kind of the continuation of the Goblin Tools. Goblin Tools breaks down a task into its component steps for me. Then I go into an app, something like a First Then app or any other visual schedule app, and then I start to map out those subtasks with any of the supporting materials someone needs. The First Then app, which is really great in that app, is that not only does it break things down into checklist form, those checklists can have pictures and audio supported. So now I can move through each step of that and see the text, a picture, and audio to help me move through it to complete that. So there's kind of a nice next step for once you get the list of steps. You can put that into a tool like that. How do we look at perceptible information? So this is about how the person is collecting information effectively from the environment, regardless of the environment itself or their sensory abilities. So looking at different modalities, picture, verbal, and tactile, um, visual aspects of things, contrast, light, um, clarity of information as it's shared, legibility of information as it's shared. Uh, Again, can we use our phone? Here's another great example of a simple free app. The Seeing AI app could be the solution for this. Uh, it is designed to provide auditory information back to a user about things in the environment. Designed for people with visual impairments, I'm going to make one bigger step here and say it is designed to provide auditory support for environmental aspects. That's what it is. Whether that's because I have a visual impairment or have some other need, whatever that is. Thinking about these tools broadly and thinking about what they provide to the person versus what are they being sold as. One of my big gripes when I talk about built-in accessibility features is in most of our tools, they are placed into buckets under a group like a need: visual, hearing, physical, and they'll put these kind of big buckets in, and then all of the features will set into some of those buckets. And one of the downsides is that people might not look and find a feature they need because they might not have a visual need. Perhaps it is a reading need. But those two needs are going to give auditory support. That's the function of the tool. And so thinking about these things and what they provide becomes really critical. And so Seeing AI, another great example. There's other tools that will do this too. This just does it really well. And now it's in both phone platforms. It is an iOS and an Android app. It is free. Uh, it uses the camera to scan items in the environment and provide audio support. It can read text, so I can point it at a sign on a wall or a map, and it will read it out loud. I can scan a UPC code. It will tell me what an item is. I can point my camera at a person, and it will describe that person or that environment to me and give me some key pieces of information about what are some of the visual aspects of the environment that I might need some additional support with. So, a great tool for that. There's another AI tool. I'm trying to pepper AI tools in, not to overrun us with AI tools, but to remind us that there's a lot of different ways we can be using AI beyond the generative AI tools that we simply ask questions and get a bunch of information back from. But how can we use some of these tools effectively to perform some task for us? And so, what I would propose here is this tool, which is called Notebook LM. So, this is a Google tool. If you have a Google account, you have this tool and it is free. It is part of your Google account. So if you are logged into your Chrome browser or a Chromebook, go to your internet browser and it's notebooklm.google.com. We'll get you there. Yours probably has nothing in it if you've never seen this tool, but you could simply create any kind of notebook. If you look at notebooks, so here's a notebook that I created for another presentation I was working on. Here's the difference of something like a Notebook LM and why it can be really powerful for us. Some of the issues people have with things like a Chat GPT or a Gemini or any of the other tools, Copilot, whoever, one of the things people are always afraid of is where is that information coming from? And is the information I'm getting accurate? Because you're just asking a question out into the air and just hoping for the best with some of those tools. What makes Notebook LM different from the start is that you control what sources go into it. So as you start to mess around with your tool. I'm going to use the little pointer so you can all see it. Um, on the left-hand side bar here, in this left-hand column here, I have sources. I added these sources in. So these are the only sources my chat bot in the center is going to pull from are the things I put into it. So I found a Google slide presentation. I didn't find it. I made it. It was my presentation. The breakdown of what my presentation was about, an article written by the author that I based some of the work on, a podcast that the author was on, the author's website about the book this information came from. So I chose a group of resources to pull from. Once I seeded my notebook with these sources, in the center, I'm going to scroll up to the top, is a normal chat bot like we're familiar with. I ask it questions. How can AI tools enhance accessibility for people with disabilities? Whatever. It gives me all of this answers back. The answers are only coming from this list of sources on the left. So I know where the information is coming from. So that's a good thing. So the chatbot part of it is great. But what we're really excited about, what's really cool, is over here on the right-hand side in Notebook LM, you have this whole studio column, which allows you to create multimodal supports for this information. If I want here is some blueprint documents, which are visuals that I could use. I could use, let me find something else. Here's an infographic about the information I had. So now I'm looking at these things in a couple different ways. How about this is
So today,
one of the features of this tool is that when I put sources into it, I can pull out an audio overview. And what that amounts to is basically a podcast about the sources you've put into it. So I'll let it play for a second. This is two computers, well, one computer using two voices to talk to itself.
a 4-year-old is going to ask about 300 questions.
Which is wild.
Right. But you, as an adult, you're going to ask maybe 20.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Exactly.
Those are computer voices. Those are computer generated voices. But as an overview, maybe I'm not going to sit and read everything. However, maybe this 20-minute overview is enough for me. One of the really cool features of this podcast aspect, this audio overview, if I was to generate this new, I could make this interactive. I don't know if it's going to let me right here, even though it says it will. I'm not sure. Let's see. There is an interactive version.
So today, a 4-year-old is going to ask about 300 questions.
Which is wild.
Right.
So
But
that's the same, that was the same audio I was listening to. But now I have a function here which says join. And while it's playing, I can ask questions of it, and the audio will shift and answer my question from the resources it has. So now what I have is what amounts to an interactive audio conversation with my sources about this topic. And so that is just one of the examples of what we can do. So many choices over here: audio overview, slide deck, a video overview, a mind map, reports, flashcards, infographics, quizzes, tables. Any of these things I can create to have different experiences with this information. So what does this mean for us if we're thinking about jobs or anything like that in the workplace? I'll give you one really good example. Was working with an individual who was going to work, and part of his job, part of the beginning of his job as he started, was he had to get the employee handbook, which was very large. It's like 60 pages. It was long. He had to get the employee handbook, review it, and then come prepared to discuss any questions he had with the HR representative. Okay, that is quite the ask, but so be it. That is the ask. Well, this gentleman does not read. And so asking him to read 60 pages of something might not be, it might not happen for him. He just wouldn't have done it. So we took the handbook and loaded it into Notebook LM and then talked to him about how he could type questions into the chatbot using his voice, and it would give him information back that he could then listen to his computer read aloud and then do the audio overview and do some of the pictures, the infographics, things like that. And he was able to, in essence, practice this conversation with the HR person and kind of dig through the handbook at the same time. What actually ended up being really nice is that after he started the job and went through the whole process with the HR person, now he has this notebook. If he has questions about his job now, he doesn't have to go to the HR person. He goes to his notebook and asks it, how many vacation days do I get a year? How do I request a day off? He types that into the chatbot and it pulls the information from their handbook and gives it to him in a very succinct way. It's a really great way to use an AI tool to support someone. But because it's only pulling from the handbook, because that's the only source in it, all the information he gets is going to be accurate because it came from that one source that he's using. So a really cool way to use AI. If you want to try it, definitely I would say Notebook LM, play around with it. Um, Try the studio aspect of it, which to me is just really, really cool. We move on. Let's see. We're on number 5, tolerance for error. The idea of minimizing hazards and the potential for accidents. Arrangement of elements, the things that are most used are most accessible. How do I shield someone from hazardous elements? I'm going to point to an electronic way to do some of these things now, which is if you have an Apple Watch or any smartwatch, they do a lot of these alerts for you. So, everything from something's been very loud in the environment and that's not good for you to your heart rate increasing for some reason, or it looks like you've fallen. Are you okay? So, thinking about this support that it could give you as you go forward to be safe in your environment. Low physical effort is number 6. The design can be used efficiently and comfortable with the minimum of fatigue. How do I maintain a neutral body posture? Use reasonable operating forces, minimize repetitive action, minimize sustained physical effort. What does that look like in a job site? It, again, will depend on the job. If this is a physical job that you're working in, I would encourage you to do a quick job analysis of what are the tasks of my job? How is my workstation set up? I like to share in this step here a gentleman I was working with who was working at the post office at the regional sorting center. And when I tell you there was some serious stuff happening there was some serious things happening with machines and the way they had to do things and the amount of information coming through. And so they were all about minimizing repetitive actions, minimizing effort, making sure people were in positions that would make them comfortable as well as make them successful with completing the tasks. If we're looking at electronic devices or any supports we're having, if someone's using a tablet or a smartphone, do they need a mount? Do they need a strap on it to wear it? Do they need a case with a hand strap so that they can hold on to this device? If someone is seated all day long, there are mounts that strap around your leg and put that device right in front of you. Maybe that's a solution for someone. Now we're starting to see devices that are sold for different reasons be used as AT. The leg strap tablet is a pilot mount because pilots of small planes use their device to help with navigation, and then that stays right there on their leg so they can see it. The top right corner on this slide is a golf club bag cart with an iPad mount attached to it. And I used something very similar for a job site where a student was working at the Home Depot in the garden center, but he used an iPad for his AAC device. And so as he was moving through his job, he would have his device and he was just holding it. It just had a case and he was holding it. When he went to help a customer, he would put his iPad down, help them, and then come back to get it. And they had two instances where his iPad was not there when he came back. So his iPad got stolen. How do we solve this? Working with his team, his coworkers came up with the idea. In fact, one of his coworkers had this rolling cart in his garage that he didn't use anymore. And they started talking. That's why I love working with teams like this. So much fun. One person said, "Hey, I have this cart and I don't use it. And it's got big wheels on it. It would roll through here and it wouldn't be a problem. And we could probably attach a basket to it and we could mount the iPad so no one would steal it. And then we'd be all set." And then they all turned to look at me and they're like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "That's all sounds amazing. Do all of that." Yeah, that sounds great. Um, so thinking creatively about solving some of these situations gives the student the access he needs to his communication, keeps it from getting stolen because now they have to wheel out an entire cart, um, and allows him to better do his job because the cart also has a basket in it, which now he can place things in it and bring his communication device with him. So, nice solution for that. Don't forget about 3D printing. Here's just two examples of 3D printed tools we can use to help facilitate access to devices, whether it's drawing or writing, or even access to touch devices with a stylus. Both of these devices are 3D printed from Makers Making Change, where you can just download these and print them so someone could use them. So, again, um, deputize your STEM programs in your school to make some of these things for you. Should be awesome. And then we have number 7, last one, size and space for approach and use. Are we making sure that there's appropriate space around for approach, reach, manipulation, and use, regardless of how the person is positioned, uh, whether they're in a mobility device or not? Are we giving the space they need? I'm going to go a little different aspect of manipulation and use here and remind you for individuals who use AAC apps on tablets and smartphones, do you have all the access pieces you need? Cases with handles, key guards to facilitate access. And when people are out in the community and they're using iPads and smartphones as AAC devices, sometimes those devices are not loud enough to be heard. And so, what we've been doing a lot of is providing people links to and resources of small Bluetooth speakers. The one in the picture there is a small Bluetooth speaker that clips to the collar of your shirt. And so as I'm using my AAC device, which I might be holding down by my waist to type things in, when I hit speak, the sound actually comes out from my general head area, and it's amplified so someone could hear it. And so thinking about that as someone's moving through the community to provide them that efficiency of use as they're moving through to use their technology. As we wrap up, come to the top of the hour, a couple things. We talked about universal design and that related that to AT. It may help to eliminate some specific job accommodations, but not all. This is not meant to say we don't need job accommodations anymore, but maybe some of these things are already in an environment and we can facilitate use quickly. We are looking ultimately to provide a work environment that is safer and more productive for each of the employees, regardless of their abilities. So thinking about that as we go through, and again, this kind of fine balance here, this dance of universal design and assistive technology, and making sure we can find a way to maximize everybody's independence and their chance for success out in the workplace. We have no minutes because it's top of the hour, but I'm willing to take a minute if anybody has questions about this. I'll put the link back up for the slides. I'll put the slides back and I'll put the link in the chat one more time so you have it. Questions, thoughts, comments, anything? I appreciate all of your time today. I hope that you found this helpful. I hope this gave you some ideas for supports. along with a way to frame this conversation as you're out in the community, that will make people um, excited about participating as opposed to fearful of what the heck assistive technology is. Oh, Kristen, hi. It's good to see you. I'm glad you were here. I hope that was helpful for you. Um, Anybody else? You don't have to just say thanks to us. You can just ask a question. That's fine too. All right. Well, we'll let y'all go back to your day. Thank you again. Keep an eye out on all the websites, all the webinars we put on our website. We have some coming up. Jesse's going to do. Jesse, you have another Aspire webinar coming up?
Yes, we have employment and AT related to Aspire next week.
Perfect. Jesse will go through the Aspire tool and show how that works. So definitely check that out. And we hope to see you again soon. Thanks for coming today. We appreciate it. Have a great day.